The egg had been sitting in the forbidden section of the Imperial Dragon Academy for 300 years. Every student, every master, every elder had tried to wake the creature inside. They used ancient rituals, rare herbs, and powerful magic. Nothing worked. The egg remained cold and silent. The Academy eventually declared it dead. They kept it only as a relic, a reminder of a species that was slowly dying out. Kale was 12 years old when he first saw the egg. He was not a student at the academy. He was a servant boy, the son of a cook who worked in the kitchen. His job was simple. He cleaned floors, washed dishes, and stayed invisible. The noble students looked through him like he was made of air. That was fine with Kale. He had learned long ago that being invisible kept him safe. One night, a terrible storm hit the academy. Lightning cracked the sky open. Thunder shook the ancient walls. Kale was sweeping the corridor outside the forbidden section when the door swung open on its own. The wind pushed him inside. He stumbled through the darkness until his hands touched something smooth and cold. The egg. Something strange happened in that moment. Kale felt a warmth spreading through his palms. The egg began to glow with a soft golden light. He heard a sound like a heartbeat. Slow at first, then faster. Cracks appeared on the surface. Kale should have run. He should have called for help. Instead, he sat down on the cold floor and watched. The shell broke apart piece by piece. A small creature emerged, no bigger than a cat. Its scales were the color of starlight, silver and white with hints of blue. Its eyes were huge and golden, and when they opened, they looked directly at Kale. The dragon hatchling made a soft chirping sound. Then it crawled into his lap and pressed its head against his chest. Kale felt something snap into place inside his mind. It was like a door opening, a connection forming. He could feel the dragon's emotions, hunger, curiosity, and something else. Trust, complete and total trust. The hatchling had chosen him. It had imprinted on him. The masters discovered them the next morning. They were furious at first. A servant boy had touched the sacred egg. A servant boy had bonded with a dragon. This was against every rule, every tradition. Dragons were meant for nobles, for warriors, for the elite. Not for kitchen boys who smelled like soap and onions. Grand Master Varin wanted to separate them. He tried everything. He used separation spells, confusion charms, and binding rituals. Nothing worked. The bond between Kale and the dragon, whom he had named Nova, was unbreakable. When they tried to take Nova away, she screamed so loud that windows shattered across the academy. When they locked Kale in a cell, Nova burned through 3 iron doors to reach him. The council met for 7 days. They argued and debated. Some wanted to kill the boy and hoped the dragon would bond with someone else. Others pointed out that dragon bonds were sacred. Breaking one through death could drive Nova insane. In the end, they made a reluctant decision. Kale would be allowed to stay, but he would never be treated as a true dragon rider. He would remain a servant. Just a servant with a dragon. 5 years passed. Kale grew into a young man of 17. Nova grew into a dragon the size of a horse. Their bond deepened every day. Kale could see through her eyes, feel the wind beneath her wings, taste the fire building in her throat. Nova could sense his thoughts, share his memories, understand his dreams. They were two souls living in one rhythm. The noble students still mocked Kale. They called him the servant rider, the kitchen dragon master. They laughed at his simple clothes and his calloused hands. But they also noticed something strange. Nova was different from other dragons. She was faster, stronger, smarter. While other dragons took years to learn basic commands, Nova mastered complex maneuvers in weeks. While other dragons resisted their riders, Nova anticipated Kale's every wish. The Academy scholars began to study them in secret. They discovered something remarkable. The bond between Kale and Nova was unlike any recorded in history. Most dragon bonds were partial connections, like two people holding hands. The bond between Kale and Nova was complete, like two rivers merging into one. The scholars could not explain it. They only knew it was special. War came to the Empire in Kale's 18th year. The Voidwalkers, creatures from the dark spaces between stars, invaded without warning. They were shadows given form, nightmares made flesh. They consumed everything they touched. Cities fell in days. Armies vanished in hours. The Empire's dragon riders flew out to meet them and never returned. The Academy prepared for the final battle. Every dragon, every rider, every student would fight. Even Kale and Nova were given permission to join. The Grand Master handed Kale a sword with contempt in his eyes. He expected the servant boy to die quickly. He expected Nova to fall like all the other dragons. The battle began at dawn. The sky turned black with Voidwalkers. They swarmed like locusts, screaming in voices that drove men insane. The Imperial dragons breathed fire, but the creatures simply absorbed the flames. One by one, the dragons fell. One by one, the riders died. Within an hour, only a handful remained. Kale and Nova flew above the chaos. Through their bond, they shared a single thought. There had to be another way. Fire did not work. Swords did not work. The Voidwalkers were made of darkness. They fed on destruction and rage. What was the opposite of darkness? What was the opposite of rage? Nova understood before Kale did. She stopped fighting. She stopped burning. Instead, she closed her eyes and reached deep inside herself to a power no dragon had used in 1,000 years. Light, pure, radiant light. Not fire, but something older and more powerful. The light of creation itself. The glow started small, a spark in Nova's chest. Then it grew and grew until it exploded outward in a wave of blinding brilliance. The Voidwalkers screamed. They burned. They dissolved into nothing. Every creature within a mile simply ceased to exist. But the effort nearly killed Nova. She fell from the sky, her wings limp. Her eyes closed. Kale fell with her. They crashed into a field of broken stone. Kale's bones shattered on impact. Nova's heartbeat slowed to almost nothing. They lay there together, dying, their bond flickering like a candle in the wind. Something happened in that moment between life and death. Their bond, already impossibly strong, became something more. Kale felt his consciousness expand beyond his broken body. He touched Nova's mind, then went deeper into the very essence of what she was. He found her light, her ancient power, and he gave her his own strength in return, his human will, his stubborn refusal to quit, his desperate love for her. The exchange saved them both. Nova's eyes opened, burning with new fire. Kale's wounds began to heal faster than any human had ever healed. They rose together, changed forever. Nova's scales now held traces of gold, human warmth mixed with dragon light. Kale's eyes had turned the color of starlight, silver and white with hints of blue. They flew back into battle and ended it in minutes. Every Voidwalker that Nova's light touched was destroyed. Every shadow that tried to escape was hunted down. By sunset, the invasion was over. The Empire was saved, and everyone knew who had done it. The Grand Master knelt before Kale that night. He begged for forgiveness. He admitted that he had been wrong. The Council offered Kale everything: land, titles, wealth, power. Kale refused it all. He asked for only one thing: change. From that day forward, dragons would not be reserved for nobles alone. Anyone could bond with a dragon, rich or poor, high-born or low. The bond itself would decide worthiness, not bloodlines or politics. Kale would train the new riders himself. He would teach them what he and Nova had discovered: that true power came not from domination but from connection, that the strongest bonds were built on love, not control. Years passed. Kale established a new academy, open to all. Hundreds of young people from every corner of the Empire came to try their luck. Most failed to bond, but those who succeeded created bonds unlike anything seen before. Their dragons were loyal beyond measure. Their powers were stronger and stranger. They became known as the True Riders, and they protected the Empire for generations. Historians would later call Kale the father of the New Age. They would write books about his humble origins, his unbreakable bond with Nova, and the revolution he sparked. But Kale never cared about fame or legacy. He cared only about Nova, about their bond, about the simple truth they had proven together. A servant boy and a dying egg. A bond that should have been impossible. A power that should have been forbidden. Yet here they were, two souls who had changed the course of history, not through violence or ambition, but through trust and love and the stubborn belief that connection could overcome anything. Nova lived for 300 more years. Kale lived for 200, his life extended by their shared bond. When he finally died, old and peaceful in his sleep, Nova followed him within the hour. She simply closed her eyes, laid her great head on the earth, and let go. The scholars said she could have lived another century, but she chose not to. She chose to follow her rider into whatever came next. They were buried together in the field where they had almost died, where their bond had transformed into something eternal. A statue was raised above their grave. It showed a young man and a dragon, their eyes closed, their foreheads touching, their souls forever intertwined. Beneath the statue, a single line was carved into stone: 2 hearts, 1 bond. History changed forever. Pilgrims still visit that grave today. Young riders bring their hatchlings there to pay respect. They say that on quiet nights you can still hear them. A boy laughing, a dragon singing. 2 souls who found each other against all odds and refused to let go. The bond between human and dragon was always meant to be this way, not a tool of war or a symbol of status, but a partnership, a friendship, a love that transcended species and time. Kale and Nova proved it. They showed the world what was possible when 2 beings trusted each other completely, and the world was never the same.